The studio had cost me like 500,000 Kenyan shillings. All that equipment, a lot of it was damaged. We had bought the land, it was worth millions. They destroyed even our main church, and in one night, everything came down. In one night, everything came down. It is something that I never want to even remember up to this day. It was a very painful time for me because my heart was really broken. I felt very bad. And it still pains me. Up to today, it is still painful. It is still painful up to today.
Imagine this woman you see here was a pastor, leading a big church, owning houses and cars, and enjoying a comfortable life filled with millions. However, everything changed suddenly. In just a moment, all her wealth disappeared. Now, she's living in this poor village, in an unfinished house, a place she never thought she'd end up. It was hard to get to her because she stays far from town, in a village with no progress. The trip took a while, but we eventually made it. This is her unbelievable story.
My name is Rose Mutua. I was born in Makueni district. That time there were not 8 counties. I come from a family of 7 siblings, and I am the second born. And I went to the rural primary school near my home. I did very well in school. Me and my brother, we were doing well. He was always the first in his class, and I would be first in my class. And we completed the primary level very well. But when I was just about to do my class 7 CPE, my mother passed on. My brother had just also finished a year earlier, and when he finished, now because we had lost our mother, our father became very frustrated with 7 children to take care of, and he became alcoholic. And so my brother was not able to go to high school. Then when I also completed, I was not able to go to high school because we were just left with my grandmother, and she didn't have any kind of income. She just used to do rural work. She would go dig for people and they bring us food. And so when I completed my primary level, she said, now what do I do, because I cannot raise school fees for you, although I had passed very well.
This time, she was just a little girl, only 12 years old. Even though she did well in exams, her grandma couldn't afford to keep her in school. Passing exams didn't matter much then, because there were no other choices. Her grandma had to make a tough decision. Rose had to leave school and go to the town to work as a house girl, but this turned out to be fortunate for her, because that's where she got the opportunity to continue her study.
When I reached home, the daughter came and she looked at me and she said, this baby is very small, she cannot be a house girl. Let her go back to school. So I went back to school and I repeated class 7 again. And as it were, I passed again with flying colors. And when I finished my primary level, now this time, my new relatives now, they started to look for a solution because I'd passed it so well. There's no way they could have ignored. So my grandmother's sister talked to the rural Catholic priest, and he accepted it to become my sponsor. And so I went to high school. I was able to complete my education, and I passed, and I went to university. And when I got to university, I happened to go to the same university with my current husband. We met there, and we completed education. And after university, we got married and began life afresh. He was the first one to get a job, got a good job with Toyota Kenya, General Motors.
They started a whole new life, and things took a turn for the better. Rose also had the opportunity to support her siblings in completing their education. Meanwhile, her husband kept receiving promotions at work. Eventually, Rose also landed a job, and together they were making progress day by day. Their lives were on the upswing, with each passing day bringing new opportunities and advancements for the family.
I began to work with American Life Insurance, and then shifted later, and I worked with a bank. And so life got better. We were able to put our children to good schools. And I can say life changed for the better generally. They were doing well in school. And at the same time, my siblings had completed their education and they began to build their own lives. And so it got to a time when now I felt my husband was stable in his work, and I felt that God was actually impressing in my heart to go and do the gospel, to go and preach the gospel of Jesus Christ. And so one day I just talked to my husband and I told him, I want to change, to come out of this bank. I was doing very well in the bank, actually, leading in my sales department. And that day I just walked to my manager and I said, I don't want to continue working in the bank. And she was very surprised because I was doing very well. She actually called a meeting and said, "Rose, what is the problem? What can we do for you? We want you to remain." But I had a big burden in my spirit, which was really pushing me. And I had no peace completely to remain in the bank. I was getting a good salary and I was supporting my husband and we were feeling comfortable. But I couldn't continue. It was so heavy and very deep in my spirit. I had to leave. And so that day I just handed over my resignation letter and I left.
This time, the choice she was making might seem crazy to many, but to her, it was a spiritual calling. She made the decision to leave her job and attend Bible school, and that was the beginning of her journey to become a pastor. But even her husband was puzzled this time, as he couldn't figure out why his wife decided to quit her job. It was something he didn't quite understand.
I did not tell my husband that I was going to that Bible school. Immediately I left that reception, that's when I called him and I told him, "You know what? I've just signed up to join a college, a Bible school." And he said, "That's crazy. You just left your job and now you want to go. How are we going to be able to pay and you have left your job?" I really didn't even care because the moment I signed up to join Bible school, I felt a lot of peace. And I knew God was going to supply. And so I just told him, "Don't worry, God will supply." And that is what happened. I started school my Bible school the following day. And I went through a 4 years course. And I completed my Bachelor of Arts in Theology and Counseling Psychology. That one. And, the moment I accepted to go to Bible school, because I'd been struggling with the call for a long time. I'd refused and I decided to go and work. But the moment I accepted to go to Bible school, God did miracles for my husband. He even got a better job. He was paid more money, like he was being compensated for what, I had left. And life became better for the family. I went on, I finished my Bible school. When I finished my Bible school, now we began to look around for a place where we could begin a church. I carried a burden for the poor because you remember where I came from, and I wanted to see lives changed for the better. I wanted to see lives transformed. We were able to locate a good place. I partnered with another pastor whom we were together in Bible school called Pastor Isaac, and we located a good place, and we began by leasing the place. Then later on, when my husband also bought into the vision, he saw that I was very committed and he came in to help us. And so he went on and took a bank loan for us to buy the land.
When they started the ministry this time, everything went smoothly. They were able to pay off all the loans they had taken. And on top of that, they initiated several positive activities to assist people from various places. Their efforts not only helped them clear their financial obligations, but also allowed them to engage in meaningful activities that benefited others from different communities. It was a time of progress and positive impact.
The ministry began. I can say the ministry began well. We began a feeding program. We were feeding the people around the Maradaima. We began also a music studio for the youth. The young people were able to change from drugs. They came in and that music did miracles. A lot of young people, their lives were changed. Apart from the music studio, I put up a very beautiful music studio for the youth. And I also had a burden for the women. So I put up a bakery, a confectionery bakery, to train the women and empower them so that they can develop skills and also be able to go and start their own small shops. And we got women who are able to train there. Youth were also training, and the church was blossoming. Things were doing well. I remember the other day I met one of the women that we trained there, and she told me she still bakes up to today, and that's what feeds up, has been feeding her all along. And the feeding program, I remember I got a testimony from a lady all the way from Eldoret. She said that the unga the flour that I gave her, she went to start a mandazi baking. And up to today, she's still doing it and feeding her family using that business. So I saw lives being transformed.
They were involved in various good deeds, positively impacting not only their own lives, but also the lives of others. However, life can take unexpected turns, and sometimes things can go wrong in a very short moment. One day, an unforeseen event occurred that took everyone by surprise. It was something they couldn't believe, and nobody else could have imagined it happening either.
Unfortunately, something happened, and one day I was away from the church, and I used to have some young men who used to sleep in the studio, just doing their music and also taking care of the equipment. And this night, I think at around 2 a.m. in the morning, I received a call, and they said, "Pastor, something bad is happening here in church." I said, "What is the problem?" They said a truck has just come in carrying policemen, and they have come with a lot of, they are carrying guns, and they are also carrying mallets, and they are already pulling down the church. They are destroying everything right now as we talk. And I told them, okay, just run and try to rescue the equipment from the studio, try to rescue the equipment from the church, and they see what you can save. And so they tried their best to rescue the equipment from the studio. The studio had cost me like 500,000 Kenyan shillings. All that equipment, a lot of it was damaged. We had bought the land, it was worth millions. They destroyed even our main church, and in one night everything came down. In one night, everything came down. And so in the morning, when I got there, it was a terrible situation. It is something that I never want to even remember up to this day. It was a very painful time for me, because that is where I put all my heart, all my mind, and all my strength. And I felt that I was living God's purpose for my life. But this morning, everything was in pieces. And my heart sank, and my heart was really broken. I felt very bad. And for the first time, I developed a high blood pressure. Because when I stepped there, I found a lot of cracks, and there was a heavy equipment, caterpillar, this type of trucks, and they were carrying the soil. And it still pains me. I mean, up to today, it is still painful. It is still painful up to today. But the story ended there.
But why did all of this happen? They had been staying there for a long time, and they had paid for the property. So why did they end up losing everything they had worked so hard for?
Nobody had given us any kind of warning to say that we are not. Somebody later on, when I followed up, I found somebody from the former government, a top official from the former government came to say that that land belonged to them. But we had been there for years. We had been there at least 4 years, and nobody had come to complain. So this particular time, when he came and he said now this land was his, but he never gave any warning. They just came and demolished everything, and they went. We tried to fight, but it didn't go far. We didn't go far. And so I decided to let it go. I became unwell from that time. I developed high blood pressure.
The day things took a turn for the worse, her husband lost his job, adding to the challenges they were already facing. To make ends meet, they had to sell everything they had left. This was a difficult time, especially with their children still in school. Life became so tough that they had to leave the city and move to a village because they couldn't afford to stay in the city. The situation became so challenging that they had to make significant adjustments to survive.
Now, after my husband lost his job, things became very tough. I've told you we were struggling to pay school fees, to put our children through school. We were supporting our family back at the up country, and things became so bad that even it got to a place we were auctioned. We lost our cars. 2 cars were taken. The same, like in 2 weeks, we had lost 2 cars, and the things were becoming worse and worse. And so we said we cannot continue stay here, and we decided we just have to change whatever it takes. Let's get out of this city and let's go and develop our own place. Yes.
After leaving the city, they've been doing their best to carry on with life. They attempted to build a house and start a small chicken farm at home, but these plans remain unfinished due to a lack of funds. Despite the challenges, she has a goal of rebuilding the church, and she is reaching out to people for assistance so that she can complete what she started.
My vision really is to just go back to my ministry. I really want to be able to continue with the church, to go back to my ministry and do the work of God. I want to see young men coming out of drugs again. I want to see their lives being transformed again. I want to impact the lives for the old women and even the young. I want to see the feeding program back in place. I want to see myself preaching the gospel again. That is my desire. I have a portion of land here which I can do farming. And right now I am thinking if we got somebody to just drill a borehole for us here, I will have water throughout the year and I can do agriculture throughout the year. If I'm able to do agriculture throughout the year, then I will generate money to be able to sponsor the ministry and also to grow my own food for feeding the family. But I also have a vision to do a factory, a water factory. I just want to purify the water, package it and sell. That way I'll be able to generate money which can go to support the ministry and also support the children that I was supporting, my family, and also others. We have supported the children, other children also to do their education. I have a burden to see lives transformed because of where God brought me from, and I wanted to go back there by the grace of God. I'm still ailing from this blood pressure. I've struggled with it for a long time. It has refused to go. And so I'm not able to do the much work that I used to do before. I have to keep balancing. But one thing that I want to do is that I want to be found on the pulpit preaching the gospel.
You can help this family through Giving Life, where the link is available in the description and always in the top comments of this video. Using the limited resources she had, she accomplished something, but now she lacks the money to continue and complete her project. She doesn't want to give up because she has always tried to bring positive change and help others. Now, she's looking for assistance to continue her efforts and be able to go back where she used to help others. You and I can also be a part of this journey. Thanks for watching. I am Susan Bennett, and this is Afrimax English. Remember to subscribe and turn on the notification to never miss any of our stories.